Elf I am the protagonist template, Invincible Chapter 21-40. Chapter 21. Hunter G. Push the team to roll over. First update. At the same time. In a forest not far from Baizi's camp, a fierce-looking woman in a camouflage uniform with a body similar to that of a mother's monster was holding the neck of a girl with golden ponytails wearing a straw hat in one hand. The other hand holds a revolver. Gun smoke filled the muzzle. In the opposite direction, a middle-aged man in a forest ranger uniform groaned and knelt on the ground, with blood dripping on his left shoulder. Shuzi investigator. No, it should be the former investigator. The mighty and majestic inch-haired woman's voice was very coquettish, giving people a very strange sense of contrast. I advise you not to act rashly, otherwise, the next shot will not necessarily hit somewhere. Elf Hunter, G. Uncle Shoes gritted his teeth and called out the name. As a special-level investigator who retired from the Elf Alliance, he certainly understood how vicious and cruel the woman in front of him was. Also know the strength of the other party. To know. This woman is no ordinary elf poacher. It is a lunatic who possesses the strength of a heavenly king and whose hands are stained with the blood of countless elves and even human trainers. The top 20 ferocious criminals on the most wanted list of the Elf Alliance are also the only surviving one today, one of the 4 special A-level bounty hunters. Hunter G. To this day. The other party's real name has long been unknown. But as the Hunter Guild, a semi-public underground organization that can be said to be spread all over the world, there are only 4 hunters with alphabetical titles. There is no doubt that they are powerful. However, these are not the reasons for Uncle Shoji's discoloration at this time. As a former Alliance special investigator who also came from the Mountain of Swords and the Sea of Fire, although he is now considered half-crippled, he is not too afraid of the other party. Can't beat it. It is not difficult to go. The fundamental reason that really made him helpless was that he was now being held hostage by the other party, the girl he picked up in the vibrant forest 12 years ago and adopted as his own. Xia Huong. Hunter G. How dare you go to the Kanto region? Aren't you afraid that Bingtian Wang Ke Na will lose one of your legs when he hears news? Kona. When Hunter G heard the name, his expression suddenly changed, and the fierce face that was already full of flesh became even more ferocious and terrifying. At the same time, her left leg below the knee, which was replaced with a mechanical prosthesis, also began to ache. One of the 4 kings of the Kanto region, the Ice King Kona, this is the name she is most reluctant to mention and remember in her life. 3 years ago, when Hunter G went to the 7 Islands to capture the ultra-rare riding elf Lapras, he was blocked by Kona, who happened to be returning to his hometown to participate in the exhibition competition. In the beginning, she didn't really take Kena, the 4 kings of the Alliance in the Kanto region, in her eyes. As an elf hunter who travels all over the world, this is not the first time she has been blocked by the 4 kings of the Alliance. But in her opinion, in fact, the famous 4 heavenly kings are just like that. Fangyuan's evil king Kaiyu can only barely suppress her, and the insect king Alu in the Shanao area is not even his opponent. And Kona. As one of the 4 heavenly kings, how strong can she be? Hunter G thought so. Therefore, the first time she was blocked by Kona, what she chose was not to escape, but to launch a brazen attack. However, the 4 heavenly kings also have strengths and weaknesses. As the Ice King of the Kanto region, Kena is obviously much stronger than Lianwu and Alu. The other party only used a fan lip sister, and she was pushed out of the team. Although at the last moment, she used the teleportation of the Nightmare Taper to escape. But after this battle, it took her more than 20 years to cultivate the 4 main elves at the lowest level and the middle level of the Heavenly King. The weaker 2 were left in the 7 Islands forever. After teleporting, he was killed on the spot. The only remaining main general, Huo Yensha, has also fallen from the peak of the king to the level where he can barely maintain the first level combat power of the king. Because of this, I even got a right leg. But there is always a way out. Who knew that she just happened to pass by the sky above the vibrant forest, and she found a little girl who was suspected of possessing the power of Vibrant. Legend has it that the power of Vibrant has the power of miracles that can completely heal the wounds of spirits. If you can use it for yourself, maybe the fire lion can return to the peak. But this time, if you want to take away the little girl in your hand, you need to solve the blocking stone in front of you first. Although the guy in front of him has quite a good network of contacts in the Alliance, as long as the corpse and traces are cleaned up, no one will find him. Thinking of this, Hunter G has no last scruples in his heart. Murder in the eyes. Suddenly it overflowed. Chapter 22, The Law of Fighting in the Wild. Second more. The real meaning of the ice element is the continuous freezing damage, which makes the opponent unable to bounce. Accompanied by the somewhat unclear Xia Yin, a bespectacled beauty with fluttering red hair in a suit similar to a professional woman walked out of the forest next to her. Master Kona. Kona. The appearance of the red-haired beauty with glasses apparently startled them both. Especially Hunter G. Her face turned pale in an instant, and her voice that could not stop rising became very sharp. Even the female flaming lion following her couldn't help but subconsciously took a step back, and a humanized fear flashed in the lion's eyes. Obviously, the psychological shadow that Kona left to this person is quite profound. Also at this time, whoosh! Accompanied by a sudden sound of breaking wind, an orange silhouette turned into a streamer and passed by Hunter G.'s side, intertwined with teeth, biting on the neck of the flaming lion, and the opponent was ferociously taken away. Fast. Close combat. The fighting experience of the wind speed dog. No, it should be that the fighting experience seems to be extraordinarily sophisticated. A set of skills flew the flaming lion out, and after taking the first mover advantage, it directly bit the opponent's bloody neck without letting go, and connected a lightning tooth. The current swayed, paralyzed the whole body, and disintegrated neatly. The flaming lion has the last chance to resist. At last. A pair of thick front palms slammed into the flame lion's chest and abdomen, penetrating the ground, causing a violent vibration that spread around. Ground-based skills. Stomp. Woo tilde. The shrill cry of the flaming lion suddenly came, the earth shook, the trees collapsed, and the smoke and dust suddenly rose, and for a time, everyone was a little unsteady. At the same time, Bai Zi, who had already touched Hunter G in the chaos, couldn't help but stun secretly. He was amazed at the scene of the battle of the king-level elves. If the wind speed dog hadn't opened up the battlefield far enough, I'm afraid the following people would be involved in the aftermath. In the moment, you will either die or be injured. What? Big mouth. The sudden change obviously made Hunter G a little confused, but her vigilance as a veteran hunter still made her let go of Xia Huong at the first time, and reached out to the elf scout around her waist. At the same time, he called out the scout agent, Big Bill, hovering above the sky. Hunter G's reaction is not unpleasant. But this time, apparently it's too late. With a loud slam, Bai Zi stomped on the ground, and the speed that was infinitely close to the peak value of human beings made him leap several meters in an instant and came to Hunter G. At the same time, he waved his arm forward, and suddenly grabbed the wrist of Hunter G's right arm holding the gun. Kacha! The crisp sound of bone cracks came, accompanied by severe pain. Hunter G knew without looking that his right arm was probably abolished. And the indifferent eyes of the young man who happened to meet her at this time also made her heart shudder. Young age. Such ruthless means and heart. As this thought came up, Hunter G couldn't help but look ruthless, and she twisted suddenly, ignoring the injury of her right arm, and with the sound of clicking, her right arm suddenly twisted at a strange angle, forcing her body. Banjung took the lead, and before Bai Zi reached out his hand, he kicked the falling firearm. At the same time, as the sparrow swooped down, her hand also touched her waist. But, upon a closer look, she felt empty. Hey tilde. A sly sneer sounded in Hunter G's ears, and in the corner of the eye, an elf in the shape of a gray, black and bright red little fox was holding her elf belt. Destroyed. Zeroa. Could it be? Hunter G seemed to have thought of something, and his expression suddenly changed to look at where Kona was before. On the ground, there is nothing but a tablet showing that the recording is finished. See here. Where is Hunter G still not aware that he was tricked by Zeroa's phantom ability? And it is still being brushed round and round. Now, her strongest combat power has been taken away by the first mover, the hostage is not in her hand, her arm has been abolished, and even the Pokeball on her belt has been stolen and destroyed unknowingly. It can be said that she is in a desperate situation. But there is no way she could just grab it. Although the Alliance has been exempted from the death penalty, the enemies who have committed these years will not miss this opportunity to beat the underdogs. At that time, I'm afraid that her life is better than death. Bitch, leave me alone, use a straight punch. At this time, Hunter G's face was full of madness, and the majestic body like a female bear was wrapped around one arm, and at the same time, his legs were twisted, and it was hung directly on Baizi's body. This big-billed sparrow's level is not high, but it can reach the gym level, but its execution ability is quite amazing. After receiving the instruction of Hunter G, he turned his body without hesitation, like a steel drill, and drilled towards Hunter G's right shoulder. This blow. It is almost foreseeable that a blood hole will be drilled out of Hunter G's right shoulder, and Baizi's chest under the right shoulder will also be directly penetrated. Chapter 23. The First Drop of Blood, A Great Harvest. Third more. You think too much. Baizi smiled sensibly. As a cautious person, and possessing the power of Baizi to detect, how could he ignore this scout above the sky? Open black lens bracket race. Big build sparrow close black lens bracket. Attribute. Normal flying. Characteristic. Sharp eyes. Level. Gym beginner level 35, 0/100. Potential. Quasi-king. HP. 65, attack. 90, defense. 65, special attack. 61, special defense. 61, speed. 100. Skills. Straight drill, pecking, screaming, random attack, swallowing, high-speed movement. Genetic skill. Noisy. Status. Short lifespan, mentally insufficiency, dark wounds. Introduction. The product of squeezing growth, the skills are incomplete, the potential is exhausted, and the middle and side neck on the left is its weakness. A spoiled one. Or rather, it was just a mount that was deliberately squeezed by Hunter G to make it grow rapidly and form a combat power. Baizi has already prepared an opponent for it. Big Stinger Bee. Beer tilde. Accompanied by a low insect chirping, the whole body shone with the color of steel, and the large needle bee, who had already completed the chi-gathering trick ahead of time, sprang out from behind Baizi like a ghost. The needle in his right arm, which was covered with purple toxin factors, pierced the air, and at a tricky angle, it just met the big bill that was attacking. One hit. PFF'd, with the sound of the sharp weapon entering the flesh, it pierced neatly into the long neck of the sparrow. Big Bill. Killed on the spot. Cuck, chuckle. Hunter G's eyes widened, but before she could say anything, she suddenly felt a pain in her back. After struggling for a while, she suddenly slipped from Baizi's body. Behind him, the beak of a large-billed sparrow with a long neck that was almost divided into two segments was piercing deeply into Hunter G's back. It was at this time. The prompt sound of the system also came. You commanded the giant hornet to leapfrog and kill the cockroach. A little gain. The battle experience +25. The hornet's level +2. The gas gathering proficiency +3. The poisonous attack proficiency +3 close black lens bracket. Ding! The first leapfrog challenge is successful. Get additional rewards. Level +3. Self-comprehend sword dance skills. You killed Hunter G with your own hands. You have a little understanding. You have a random martial skill, and you get a skill. Kicking skill master level. Do you want to learn it? Close black lens bracket. Ding! Complete the first drop of blood achievement. Get killing rewards. Speed +2, kicking skill level +5. Oh, are there rewards for leapfrog challenges and self-killing? Not bad, not bad. Quote. Baizi's face was delighted. After this wave, his only weakness, speed reached 11 points, surpassing the peak that ordinary people in the elf world could achieve. Moreover, he also obtained his first master level skill, kicking skill. To know skills from novice to master, the required experience value is almost doubled. Even if he has a talent reward system, he must generate more than 1 million experience points to reach the master level, which is not difficult. This wave can almost be said to have reached the sky in one step. Baizi immediately chose to study. Next second, countless kicking skills and experiences popped up in his mind. The whole body began to heat up, accompanied by bursts of soreness and numbness, as if a stream of heat was constantly transforming his body. Especially the legs and waist. Seems to be taken care of. It can almost be said that every second, Baizi can clearly feel that they are constantly becoming stronger and more powerful. Moment. Baizi exhaled slightly, feeling his brand new physique as if reborn, and the corner of his mouth raised an arc. Today's self is 10 times stronger than before. If you face Hunter G again at this time, why bother? With only 3 points of force, Baizi has the certainty of a move to completely incapacitate the opponent. In addition, the enhancement of the giant stinger is also very gratifying. On the level, it came directly to a 5 jump and reached level 30, which is considered a first-time elite high-level entry. And because of this, he also realized the strengthening magic skill of sword dance. From now on, as long as the sword dance is stacked high enough, then his own big needle bee can really transform into Changshan Jiao Zifang, and kill 7 in and 7 out at the Alliance Conference, and 1 needle as a child. Thoughts surged in his heart, but Baizi's hands and feet were not slow. At this time, he had already counted Hunter G's loot with him. But to him, there are only 3 things that are really valuable. First of all, it is the premium medical kit sold by Shaloof Group. There are all kinds of medicines in it, and all of them are high-end products. Baizi had seen the price, 1.2 million, which was not what he could consume at the time, so he had to retreat and choose some necessary medicines in bulk. Now, it's a free prostitute for him. Next up is a decent amount of power blocks and elf food. However, with the exception of the fire element and the normal element, which are of high quality, the rest of the categories are all defective products that can only be eaten. From this point alone, it can be seen that, except for the flaming lion, Hunter G probably did not cultivate the remaining elves as partners at all. It is estimated that they are all tool pets. As for the last item. Chapter 24, Laplace of Compassion and Forbearance, the Healer 4th. Race, Laplace riding the dragon. Attribute, water ice. Characteristic, water storage, hard shell armor. Level, elite peak level 34, 99 100ths. Potential, champion. HP, 130, attack, 85, defense, 80, special attack, 85, special defense, 95, speed, 60. Skills, singing, calling, water gun, white fog, life droplets, boulders, strange light, water fluctuations, rain, death song, frozen beam. Genetic skills, cold and dry, ground crack. Props, mysterious water droplets, non-melting ice. Status, good, serious trauma. Introduction. Laplace with extraordinary aptitude has excellent ice attribute manipulation ability. The special living environment has created his transcendent character, tenacity, tolerance and tolerance. This Laplace. Through the colorless Pokeball printed with silver chains in his hand, Baizi couldn't help but stare. This type of Pokeball is called a restriction ball, and is a second processed union contraband. Single function. In short, it is a reinforced elf cell. It is generally a kind of Pokeball specially used by poachers to store the captured precious Pokémon. Being imprisoned here, then obviously this Laplace has not been domesticated by Hunter G. That is to say, maybe I can try to conquer this Laplace. Thinking of this, Baizi's eyes suddenly burst into a bright light. Laplace, also known as the dragon. This is a gentle and well-suited elf species for water riding. Moreover, they are very close to humans and like to swim and play with people on the water. Known as the most suitable elves to ride on the water. It can be said that this is also the best water riding elf that Baizi can think of. Not only that, with the dual characteristics of water storage and hard shell armor, Laplace can not only fight against the water shield in the Civil War and recover by the way, but cannot be hit the key point. With its HP of up to 130, Laplace can completely use the tide spin plus destruction. Song, come and catch someone to sing and grind the shield on the opposite side. Coupled with the genetic cold and dryness that specializes in water systems, and the ground fissure that will cause a near-death hit as long as it hits, it is just suitable for hitting those big men who are inconvenient to move. Baizi will naturally be moved by such a meat pet Laplace who is anti-water and anti-shield and can defeat a big man. Not to mention, from the criss-crossing old and new scars on this Laplace body, it can be seen that it must have been abused by Hunter G a lot. But even so, it can ensure that it is in good condition, and it has 2 attribute items worth thousands of gold without being discovered. Toughness, forbearance. White Z and Laplace in the restricted ball meet. Moment. Laplace bowed his head slightly with a cowardly expression, and his body was twisted into a ball. Immediately, he shivered. Seeing this, Baizi couldn't help raising the corners of his mouth. Tisk, what an interesting little guy. Your wind speed dog killed the flame lion, a little gain, Godspeed proficiency +1, melee combat proficiency +1, lightning tooth proficiency +1, heavy stepping proficiency +1. Woo tilde. The familiar system prompt sounded along with whimpering from far to near. Baizi raised his head, and saw the wind speed dog with only slightly messy hair running in front of him. Thank you for your hard work, whined speed dog. Baizi lightly smiled and stepped forward and patted the other person's furry collar. Seeing that the big guy couldn't stop looking at his body, he immediately added with a smile, don't worry, I have nothing at all. Woo tilde. The wind speed dog was relieved, and arched his head meekly. Seeing this, Zoroya immediately threw the elf belt in his mouth, climbed onto Baizi's shoulders 2 or 3 times, and began to act coquettishly and beg for praise. But the big stinger was as calm as ever. After methodically wiping off the big mouth's blood stained on the needles, he began to quietly comprehend the newly acquired skills. This. And it was only at this moment that Uncle Shoes, who witnessed Baizi killing the famous Hunter G in the blink of an eye not far away, finally recovered from his stunned expression. Be nice. Which big family cultivated this young talent? Hunter G, a vicious criminal who has been traversing the elf world for decades, is actually in the hands of this young man who is at most 15 or 16 years old in front of him. You must know that in those days, even the 4 kings of the Kanto region, Kona, couldn't really keep each other. Wonderful. It's incredible. What a hero out of a boy. Uncle Shoes couldn't help but praised again and again in his heart. As for the life and death of Hunter G, he's not one of those rookies who don't know much about the world, fighting in the wild, life and death on the front line, where's the reason to keep his hands? Not to mention, he saw clearly. This Hunter G clearly died under the long beak of his big beak, and has a hairy relationship with this young man. And at the same time, Baizi finally turned his attention to the young girl Xia Huong who was still lying on the ground, frowning slightly, as if she might wake up at any time. The healer. Baizi's eyes swept across the delicate skin of the girl, his eyes wandering a little, not knowing what he was thinking. Immediately, he leaned forward and picked him up. Slightly fragrant. It was at this time. With the flickering eyelashes like cicada wings, the eyelids rolled up, revealing those pure and bright eyes like yellow agate. Chapter 25, Gentle, Chocho, 5th. Joban Forest. Periphery. inside a two-story cabin. At this moment, Baizi held a towel and slowly walked downstairs while wiping his hands. Seeing the girl's nervous look, she immediately chuckled and said warmly, "Uncle Shoes didn't hurt his bones. I've sutured his wounds, given medicine, and rested for a few days. It won't be a big problem." Wu tilde. When Xia Huong heard the words, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief, and then said to Baizi with a grateful expression, "Thank you, big brother, otherwise, I don't know what to do." "It's okay." Baizi obviously didn't take it to heart, waved his hand, went downstairs, and placed the used towel on the bamboo rack aside. Then, he suddenly approached the girl, stretched out two fingers, and lifted the girl's delicate chin. Xia Huang's body froze for a moment, his hands subconsciously clenched the corners of his clothes, and he looked at the handsome face of the young man in front of him, but for a moment, there was no resistance. "The bruise on your neck isn't too shallow. Let me give you some medicine." Baizi looked at the girl's reaction with a smile from the corner of his eyes, and regardless of whether the other party agreed or not, he directly pulled Xia Huang to the bamboo chair beside him to do it. It didn't take advantage of it deliberately. After simply cleaning the girl's neck with a towel, and then applying a layer of blood-activating potion, Baizi immediately closed his hand and placed the small bottle on the coffee table in front of him. This is a special treatment spray for promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis. Use it once in the morning and once in the evening. In a day or two, the bruises on your neck will be completely gone. "Okay, go upstairs and see your uncle. I still have something to do. I'll go to the front yard to solve it." Saying that, Baizi lightly smiled, stretched out his hand and flicked Xia Huang's forehead, got up and walked towards the courtyard outside the house. "Yeah." The conditioned reflex hugged her head and snorted softly, like a kitten, half squinting her eyes, watching the tall and straight back of the young man slowly walking out. A flush of red rose from her neck, and finally rendered her cheeks and earlobes. The area is not small in the front yard. Baizi looked around a little. Then he saw his group of elves resting and playing in the courtyard. However, the giant needlebee is still diligent as always. It hovers alone by the courtyard wall, with a little mysterious brilliance all over its body, and an illusory sword-shaped energy emerges around it. Obviously. At this time, the big needlebee has initially mastered the sword dance trick, and is constantly skilled and practiced. Your big needlebee has deeply comprehended and trained the sword dance trick, and gained a little, sword dance proficiency +2. Your big needlebee has deeply comprehended and trained the sword dance trick, and gained a little, sword dance proficiency +2. Baizi glanced in the direction of the giant needlebee, and saw that the status column showed, "Good," so he put out the idea of disturbing. On the side, the wind speed dog quietly closed his eyes and crouched on the lawn in the center of the courtyard. When Baizi appeared, he only shook his ears slightly, and then there was no other movement, and he seemed very leisurely. Zoroha, meanwhile, was chasing and fighting with a petite Pikachu with a small red flower pin to his left ear. Although not long ago. But these two little guys seemed to be very familiar with each other. But after discovering that Baizi came out of the house, Zoroya made an emergency stop. Then, without looking back, he left Pikachu as his temporary playmate and rushed to Baizi's feet. Ooh, tilde. Climbing onto Baizi's shoulder very skillfully, Zoroya rubbed his small head on Baizi's neck affectionately, then stuck out his tongue and licked Baizi's face twice. "You're such a little bitch." Baizi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, stretched out his hand to hold Zoroya in his arms and scratched it twice, then moved his gaze down to Pikachu, who was tilting his head and looked at him curiously. Race, Pikachu, Chucho. Attribute, electricity. Feature, static electricity. Level, beginner novice, level 12, 5100s. Potential, champion. HP, 35, attack, 55, defense, 40, special defense, 50, special defense, 50, speed, 90. Skills, electric shock, tail wagging, harmony, angel's kiss, cheek rubbing, coquetry, scream, lightning flash, electromagnetic wave, shadow clone, electric ball. Genetic skills, volt attack, prayer. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction, Pikachu, who is considerate and caring about others, has extraordinary aptitude. Although he does not have a strong sense of battle, his understanding of unique skills is very good. Another Pikachu with champion potential and inherited Volt's attack. Gee. If you don't know why. I thought Pikachu was some kind of legendary fairy. Baizi couldn't help but muttered in his heart. Immediately. He put Zoroha down, pushed the two little guys, and let them play aside. Then, from his elf belt, he took the colorless elf ball with a silver chain pattern, that is, the limit ball with Laplace in his hand. Chapter 26. Give your heart, return loyalty. First update. Click. Without much hesitation, Baizi directly lifted the unique elf lock on the restriction ball. Next, tap the center button. The Pokeball instantly swelled. Red light flashed. An elf with a sea blue body, bright yellow belly and neck, and a layer of uneven gray carapace on the back, which looks a bit like a plesiosaur, appeared in front of Baizi. This Laplace is not very big, and it looks like a head taller than Baizi, and it should not be an adult. And apart from that, what moved Baizi the most was this little guy, with layers upon layers, new wounds covering old wounds covering old wounds. It was like a layer of cocoon, covered with terrifying scars on his entire body. It can be seen that these wounds are basically caused by blunt blows and whiplashes. And it is not difficult to guess that this must be the work of Hunter G, who has already died in Wangquan. Such a guy. It's not a pity to die. Tilde. Seemingly frightened by the coldness in Baizi's eyes, Lepraston shivered all over, curled up his body in an extremely skilled gesture, and let out a pleasing low voice. This made Baizi stunned for a moment. Although he knew in his heart that the little guy who was rated as tough and tolerant should be acting with him. But when Baizi's eyes touched the scar on Laplace's body and the trace of caution in the depths of his eyes softened. It might be tough enough, and it's really good at camouflage. But the suffering it has endured is indeed real. Baizi put down a little bit of defense in his heart, and the routine he had thought up before to conquer Laplace. He stepped forward, and in the slightly wary eyes of the other party, he gently surrounded Laplace's slender man. Neck. The power of Baizi's power to soothe the mind suddenly came out, wrapping Laplace in the whole body. Don't be afraid, everything is over, believe me, the hardships in the past will now leave you, and every day in the future will be new and beautiful. I promise. Baizi's voice was gentle and firm, accompanied by a warm power that seems to wash the soul. At this moment, it slowly immersed in the depths of Laplace's heart, making it very clear to feel the closeness of another soul. For a moment, an unprecedented sense of peace of mind made Laplace unable to help but indulge in it. Especially at this time, Baizi's sincere concern was absolutely unselfish. It also made the last bit of defense left in Laplace's heart melted in a moment like the morning sun shining on the snow. Oh woo tilde. Laplace let out a weak cry like a bottom weep, and slowly lowered his head and placed it on Baizi's shoulder. In this way, slowly, for the first time, I fell asleep without any defense. Under the caress of the warm sun, the people and spirits who are leaning against each other seem to draw each other's hearts close to each other in this silent communication. You use the influence of Baizi's power to appease Laplace, with a little gain, ability value experience +5. After that, Laplace's conquest was unexpectedly easy for Baizi. That's the beauty of elves. If you give your heart, then the vast majority of elves will also give their hearts and loyalty. Click, Baizi crushed the restriction ball and threw it into the trash. Then he took out a black and yellow vacant luxury ball from the belt, with the button facing down, and tapped it lightly on top of Laplace's head. The red ray spread out from the white button in the middle of the luxury ball and quickly wrapped and stored Laplace. After 2 beats, without the slightest shake, Laplace succeeded in subduing. Clap clap. Baizi clapped his hands, then released Laplace from the pokeball, and greeted with a smile, "Come on, let's get to know our new partners together." Ow tilde. Beer tilde. Woo tilde. The wind speed dog sleeping on the side, Zoroya playing with the little yellow Pikachu, and even the giant Stinger who is still training dissipated energy and came to Baizi and Laplace, either enthusiastic, or curious, or he greeted Laplace calmly. Laplace seemed to be a little uncomfortable about this, but after seeing Baizi's encouraging eyes, he raised his head slightly, tentatively, and let out a soft cry, "Oh woo tilde." Baizi's mouth twitched. And Zoroa couldn't see the ferocity and solitude of the ordinary evil-type elf at all. After greeting, he jumped on Laplace's back with a familiar look and started to play. "Big brother, this Laplace." At this moment, Baizi heard a crisp voice accompanied by a burst of hurried footsteps. Turned. He then saw that Xia Huong, who walked out of the wooden house, was looking at Laplace with eyes full of worry and pity, the dense scars. Chapter 27, Son of Vivian, Conquer tilde, second. Saying that, Xia Huang didn't wait for Baizi to respond, and came to Laplace's side in 3 or 2 steps, and put his hands on Laplace's back and neck. In an instant, Yingying's green brilliance gushed out from Xia Huang's palm. The invisible warm breath made Baizi clear in his heart, and the elves next to him couldn't help but have an inexplicable intimacy with the girl. And Laplace, who was wrapped in the aura and power of Vibrant, was even more able to feel the earth-shaking changes in his body at this time. The whole body seemed to be completely penetrated, and there was an indescribable sense of pleasure. The body surface also started to itch. The thick cocoon armor was propped up and replaced little by little like a snake shedding its skin. The back shell also became smooth and translucent as if it had been waxed. Overall, simply, it's like being reborn. Oh woo tilde tilde tilde. Laplace let out a long, melodious cry, his voice full of relief. And with this long cry, layers of frost gradually covered the slough that had receded from Laplace's body. Kacha, after a crisp sound, it instantly turned into countless ice crystals and flew away. What an amazing ice attribute control ability. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he couldn't help but admire. As a qualified trainer, naturally he could see it. What Laplace showed just now was purely the manipulation of the ice attribute factor, not the effect of using some unknown ice-related skill. Excellent. At this time, seeing that Laplace had fully recovered, Xia Huang was not relieved, and stopped the operation of the power of Vibrant. But just let go. A feeling of weakness that the body was being emptied suddenly came to my mind, and as soon as the body softened, it was about to stumble and fall to the ground ahead. Be careful. Baizi stretched out his hand with the tip of his eyes, grabbed Xia Huang Nenbai's wrist directly, and pulled it into his arms with a slight force. The familiar touch came again, and along with the good smell, Xia Huang's cheeks suddenly turned red. However, the dizziness from her brain and the weakness in her body still made her subconsciously clench Baizi's collar and rely more on her focus. How are you all right? After a moment, Xia Huang, who was slightly relieved, blushed slightly, broke away from Baizi's warm embrace, lowered his head, looked at his toes and said, thank you, big brother. I'm fine now. Quote. That's fine. Baizi nodded mildly, and there was no strangeness on his face. But immediately, he said, however, when you use the power of Vibrant in the future, you still need to do what you can. Excessive consumption of physical strength will also damage your body. Vibrant power. Consumption. Xia Huang's expression was a little confused, obviously he didn't fully understand his abilities. Baizi glanced at her and explained with a smile, the special ability you used to heal Laplace just now is called the Power of Vibrant, which is blessed by the Viking forest in legends, and only comes every 10 years. An ability that may be passed on once. Quote. However, it is said that it is once every 10 years. But as far as Baizi knows, there are only 2 or 3 people in this world who truly inherit the power of victory. And among these people, Xia Huong is still the most special one among them. Her vibrant power not only has the effect of healing elves, but also can read the hearts of elves, communicate with each other, and feel the surrounding environment through the eyes of elves, and even when she becomes serious and angry, she can let her elf's level skyrocket in a short period of time. This ability, to be frank, perverted enough. Therefore, it can be said that Xia Huong is the one, the son of Jobin, who is truly favored by the forest of Jobin. Okay, that's awesome. Xia Huong had a stern look on his face. Bai Zi, on the other hand, rubbed the young girl's hair with a light smile, and continued, not only that, it can also allow you to communicate with the spirit of the elves, and even enhance the effect of the elves' combat power in a short period of time. But all of this will consume your physical strength, that's why I told you to do everything within your means, understand? Xia Huong nodded heavily, keeping these in her heart, and the concern she heard from these words also made her feel sweet. Looking at the girl's pure smile, Bai Zi also smiled. Immediately. He thought for a while, released his hand, took a luxurious ball from the elf belt, and said, Xia Huong, your Pikachu's aptitude is quite good, if you don't want it to be taken away from you by others. Or is it better to catch it in advance, how? Saying that, Bai Zi handed the luxurious ball in his hand towards Xia Huong. This. Xia Huong took the luxury ball with a bit of hesitation. She just wanted to be friends with Pikachu. She didn't think so much, but when she thought about the possibility of parting with Pikachu, she suddenly felt a sense of reluctance in her heart. Pick up, Pika-P-tilde. Pikachu seemed to have sensed Xia Huong's mood, and hurriedly called out dancing. Chapter 28. Now, attack. Third more. Do you think so? When Xia Huong heard Pikachu's words, his eyes suddenly turned red, and he hugged Pikachu who rushed over, and said in a choked voice, me too. Chocho, we are a family, we will never be separated. After one person and one pet for a moment, Xia Huong wiped the corners of his eyes and aimed the luxurious ball in his hand at Pikachu in his arms. Then, please continue to take care of me in the future, Chocho. Pika-P-tilde. Pikachu nodded with a smile and crooked eyes. After rubbing Xia Huong, he took the initiative to stretch out his small paw and pat the button in the middle of the luxury ball. In an instant. With a red light. Pikachu was covered with light, contained, and entered into a luxurious ball. There was no tremor. With a bang, it was successfully subdued. Congratulations, Xia Huong, for successfully subduing Pikachu. Bai Zi congratulated with a smile. Tilde. Xia Huong smirked and scratched his head, then quickly released Pikachu and held him in his arms. Thank you so much, big brother, you have helped a lot, I really don't know how to thank you. If you are thankful, you don't have to. Bai Zi smiled and shook his head. After looking at the pair of Xia Huong and Pikachu, he suggested, however, if you don't mind, would you like to have an elf battle with me? As one of the protagonists of the elf world, Bai Zi believes that Xia Huong should also be able to generate a good destiny reward. Therefore, of course he did not miss the truth. Are you going to fight? Xia Huong was stunned when he heard the words, and he glanced at Pikachu with a slight hesitation, but finally agreed. Although she is not really interested in elf battles. But, since it was Bai Zi's request, then she couldn't have any thoughts of rejection. In the open space outside the small courtyard, Bai Zi and Xia Huong stood opposite each other. On one side, the wind speed dog and the giant stinger were watching the battle. As another pair of protagonists located in the center of the arena, Zoroha and Pikachu do not seem to have this awareness, and they are still playing the game of chasing me, chasing you, and running happily. Clap clap. Bai Zi clapped his palms and gestured. Okay, Zoroha, this is your first battle, you have to perform well. Tilde. Hearing the sound, Zoroha immediately stopped fighting, and after greeting his newly acquainted best friend Pikachu twice, he simply turned around and came to Bai Zi. It looks like it is ready to go, all fours are on the ground, and the body is arched, and the dark evil energy is also ignited from its small body-like reality. Pikapi. On the other hand, Pikachu seemed a little helpless compared to Zoroa's mobility. Still too young. Seeing this, Baizi shook his head slightly, but he had no plans to fight. Although he is really greedy for Xia Huong. There may be a destiny reward on his body, but it is not her style to bully a little girl while others are in danger. Chocho, if you want to protect Xia Huong, then you must learn how to fight. Otherwise, when danger strikes, how will you protect her? The same goes for you, Xia Huong. Even if you don't want to be a trainer, it is your duty as their family to nurture, train, and make them strong. In any case, in this world, strength is the foundation of everything you can have. Baizi's tone was gentle and persuasive. He instilled his own force theory view into Xia Huong, who was now like a blank sheet of paper, and in the pure heart of the other party, the first ink was stained. Then, he also briefly explained some precautions for Xia Huong about the battle. However, what Baizi said was more general. He knew exactly what potential the girl in front of him had. Although he is called the healer, as the absolute protagonist of the yellow chapter, Xia Huong's talent in battle is equally good, and he is not inferior to Kai, who is called the battle man. Therefore, just give a framework. He didn't want to affect Xia Huong's own spirituality. So, to sum up the above, calm judgment, decisive response, correct command, meticulous observation ability, profound knowledge, forward-looking vision and strong psychological quality, these are all qualified what a trainer needs to have. Quote. And how to apply it to the battle requires your own accumulation and grasp. Okay, I've finished what I have to say, now. Attack here. Little Yellow. Baizi exhaled slightly, his dark eyes staring at Xia Huong, he said in a deep voice. Chapter 29, Xia Huong's Amazing Talent, Fourth More. Xia Huong nodded seriously, pursed his lips, closed his eyes, inhaled slightly, exhaled, and finally, slowly opened his eyes. In an instant, a different kind of breath spread out from the girl's petite body. What a clear fighting spirit! Baizi's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but exclaimed in admiration. And this time, on the opposite side, Xia Huong, who seemed to be completely absorbed in entering a certain realm, sees the gap when Baizi opened his mouth in an instant, but he didn't see the opening, and the power of victory was instantly connected to Pikachu's mind. Choo-choo, wagging his tail, and then lightning flashes. Pick up tilde. Pikachu swayed its heart-shaped zigzag tail, and the invisible gravity made Zoroa involuntarily divert his attention away, and a light flashed on the surface of his body. Baizi knew it. This is Zoroa's defense being lowered. And after Pikachu made the first move, the red electric sacs on both sides of the cheeks suddenly burst into a burst of golden lightning that spread all over the body, and the small four claws waved in a zigzag shape, heading straight for the direction of Zoroa, as fast as lightning. And attacking autonomously without instructions. Baizi raised his brows, but then, after a glimpse of Xia Huong's awe-inspiring face, he immediately denied his previous speculation. No, look at this. This should be Xia Huong using the power of Vibrant to connect the command of the mind's power, the silent command. What an amazing talent and ability. Between the lights and flints, Baizi's thoughts turned sharply, and he made a judgment in an instant. And at the same time, he also narrowed his eyes, and without hesitation he decisively ordered, ground, grab. Wu tilde. Zoroha immediately understood, and the shiny right front paw suddenly slammed on the ground in front of him. Immediately. Dust is rising. He directly covered Pikachu, who was coming towards him, and blocked the opponent's sight. It also made the little guy in the battle formation feel a little helpless, and even the offensive of the flash of light became slow because of this. But the role of the trainer is now. As for Xia Huong, although he is a complete novice, his talent for battle is unmistakable. Chocho, don't be afraid. Listen to me, close your eyes, speed up, go forward to the left, and continue to flash with electric light. Pick up tilde. Hearing Xia Huong's voice, Pikachu seemed to have a backbone, immediately closed his eyes, and slammed into the direction Xia Huong pointed. Did you give Pikachu guidance using the power of Viking? There was a ray of admiration in Bai Zi's eyes, and it was instantly clear that this was Xia Huong who wanted to use the smoke that blocked his line of sight, so that Pikachu took the opportunity to approach, and attacked Zoroa unexpectedly. As such, Soraya, whose defense had been lowered by the first mover, was likely to be sent out by a flash of lightning from Pikachu's all-out effort. However, Bai Zi, who knew all of this, did not immediately remind Zoroya. Instead, he let Pikachu, with the help of the smoke, dash into Zoroa less than 2 meters, and then suddenly shouted. Zoroa, Diablo Blast! Oh tilde woo! In a juvenile but fierce long howl, Zoroa, who was already tense all over, suddenly exploded the fur all over his body almost at the same time as Bai Zi ordered, and a pair of front feet also stomped heavily on the ground. Stop time. The dark and deep rays of light flickered wildly, and a large number of evil elements were like a wave, centered on Zoroa, rushing towards all directions. Its momentum was ferocious, and the Pikachu who was pounced was shot directly into the air in an instant, and the remaining momentum was unabated, madly expanding and raging, covering nearly half of the field between Bai Zi and Xia Huong. Instantly, the dust is gone. Pikachu seemed to have fallen outside the field and passed out in a coma. Chucho! Xia Huong suddenly exclaimed, and quickly stepped forward to pick up Pikachu. The green light revived, and began to use the power of Vibrant to treat him. At the same time, the familiar and pleasant system prompt sounded in Bai Zi's ears at the right time. You command Zoroya to defeat Huong. Generation. Jobin Lilacs Pikachu. Battle Experience +10. Spirit +2. Zoroha Level +3. Grasping Proficiency +2. Dark Blasting Proficiency +5. Ding! Defeat the Son of Destiny and get an additional reward. Virtual Road Sign of Unknown Opportunity to be activated. Yellow. Generation. Jobin Lilac is the full name of Xia Huong, meaning, Child of the Vibrant Forest, and can also be understood as, Xia Huong from the Vibrant Forest. As for this reward. Virtual Signposts of Unknown Opportunities. What the hell is this? Bai Zi's mouth twitched. The reward called, the Guardian Contract of Destiny, that was swiped from the red body before, still hasn't moved. What is this? Virtual Road Sign of Unknown Opportunity. How? You want me to hunt for treasure? Can't you just be a little bit quicker and give me something similar to what Xiaoji has brushed on and can work directly? Bai Zi's face was utterly disgusting, and at the same time he slandered, he also aimed his eyes at the panel. Investigate. The message of this so-called, virtual signpost of unknown opportunity, comes. Chapter 30. Virtual Road Signs, Legendary Groups 5th. Unknown Virtual Road Sign. Not activated, can be activated at any time through the mind. After activation, a virtual road sign that only the host can see will be displayed, guiding the host to the place where there is an unknown opportunity. I see, is it something similar to what the game points to? Bai Zi suddenly understood. Immediately. He turned his attention to Zoroha who was still in the field. Wu tilde. At this moment, the dark evil energy factor not only did not dissipate, but became more intense, and accompanied by a slightly immature long howl, the fog dissipated, revealing Zoroya's current state of mind. Appearance. Your Zoroha takes the opportunity to break through, gains a little, status is optimized, level +1, comprehends the general change skill, ghost face. Race, Zoroha. Attribute, evil. Characteristic, illusion, exclusive. Level, novice intermediate, level 16, 0/100. Potential, quasi-god. HP, 40, attack, 65, defense, 40, special attack, 80, special defense, 40, speed, 65. Exclusive skill, Diablo Blast. Skills, catch, stare, make trouble, sharpen claws, grab randomly, ghost face. Genetic skills, see-through, supernatural power. Open black lens bracket condition, good close black lens bracket. Introduction, Zoroha, who is extremely talented, is underdeveloped due to malnutrition, but his talent is extraordinary, especially his mastery of illusion, which is even far better than his evolutionary Zoroark. Is it possible to take advantage of the system's opportunity to increase the level to make a second breakthrough? And the state is optimized to good, not bad. The light in his eyes slowly dissipated. A satisfied smile appeared on Bai Zi's face. Okay little guy, come back. Then, he waved at Zoroya, and the petite grey-red fox immediately shook the dust on its fur, with light legs, and threw itself into Bai Zi's arms. Very affectionately arched. Then, after Mengmeng hit Heish, she shrank slightly tiredly, and fell asleep peacefully in Bai Zi's arms. Snoring came slowly. This little guy. Bai Zi couldn't help shaking his head and chuckling. With a doting expression, he pressed the little guy's fluffy head twice with his thumb. Then, he took out the elf ball and lightly tapped it. Under the red light, he put Zoroya in it. The environment in the deluxe ball allows Zoroya to get a better rest. And this time, Pikachu has also been completely healed by Xia Huong's power of Vibrant, because the injury is not serious, but it did not consume much of Xia Huong's physical strength. Not only that, but the little guy seems to be as optimist as its owner. Although the first battle was lost. But he didn't feel down at all, and even after Xia Huong calmed down a few words, he happily played with the other party, laughing and laughing, looking like he was heartless. It looks like this little guy Chocho should be fine. Bai Zi put away the Pokeball with Zoroha, then slowly stepped forward, came to Xia Huong's side and chuckled. Hee hee tilde. Xia Huong shyly stopped fighting with Pikachu, hugged Pikachu in his arms, shook his head, and said with admiration, I'm fine. But, brother Bai Zi, you are really strong and strong. You and Chocho are also very good. After all, this is your first time against each other, but you are much, much better than most novice trainers. Bai Zi smiled warmly and rubbed the heads of Xia Huong and Pikachu respectively. Pick up tilde. Pikachu screamed and rubbed Bai Zi's palm, looking very intimate. Although Xia Huong was a little shy, he didn't dodge in the slightest. He was slapped twice on the top of his head by Bai Zi's big hand. His cheeks were slightly red, and he shrank his head, but the corners of his mouth rose slightly unconsciously. Concerned about Uncle Shoji's injury, Bai Zi stayed in the Chengpan forest for a few more days. But he was not idle either. On weekdays, in addition to training the few elves in his hands as usual, he took the time to explain the basics of elves training and combat to Xia Huong, and helped her complete her first subduing. A little Rada with Heavenly King level qualifications. Gee. Should it be said to be one of the protagonists of Destiny? Although it is true that such a large elf population as Little Rada can give birth to individuals with excellent aptitude. However, not long after Qinglu just chased a champion-qualified Little Rada, when Xia Huong casually touched it in the vibrant forest, he was another heavenly ranked Little Rada. Good guy. If you don't know this, I'm afraid that you might have thought that this Little Rada would be some kind of legendary elf tribe. And beyond that. After these few days of intensive training, all the elves in Bai Zi's hands, including the Wind Speed Dog, also have their own gains to varying degrees. Chapter 31, Try God's Edge. First update. The first is Zoroha. Although its level has not improved in the past few days, its special attack has been increased by 5 points. At the same time, the operation and use of its exclusive feature, illusion, has become more and more proficient. Then, there is Laplace. After being healed by the power of victory and the careful maintenance of Bai Zi in the past few days, he finally broke through the shackles and advanced to the first-level gymnasium. He became the first elf in Bai Zi's hands to break through the gym level. And as the initial spirit of Bai Zi, the giant needle bee. Perhaps because it was surpassed by its companions one after another, it made extra efforts in the past few days, and the harvest was also quite good. Not only did the attack increase by 2 points, but also the speed increased by a little. You must know that the attack and speed of the big needlebee have both exceeded 100. Each increase in difficulty is 10 times more difficult than before. Thus, the efforts made by the giant needlebees in the past few days can be seen from this. As for the last, it is the wind speed dog. Strength. Even 3 days ago, Baizi ventured to the depths of the vibrant forest, and brought Feng Shui Dog to find and defeat the 3 single king-level elf overlords. Although judging from the logs generated by the Heavenly Rewards system, the function of the system is valid for the wind speed dog. But obviously, the experience of the mere 3 king-level overlords is still a drop in the bucket. However, Baizi, who had already expected this, was not too disappointed. And in the subsequent training, not only a part of its own 6-dimensionality has been improved, HP +2, Defense +1, Special Defense +1, Speed +1. It also took advantage of the trend to find out the specific method of improving the 6-dimensional attribute. Among them, training on endurance can improve HP, training on strength and fighting can improve attack, training on anti-strike can improve defense, training on energy manipulation can improve special attack, training on attribute adaptation can improve special defense, and training on reaction, agility, and speed can improve speed. Racial value. Now, be honest. It is very useful for Baizi to understand this. Hexagonal warriors with no weaknesses are indeed close to perfection to some extent, but on the other hand, they also represent mediocrity. Therefore, in the strengthening of the 6-dimensional wizard, compared with the comprehensive hexagonal warriors, Baizi is more inclined to add points to the limit, so that the advantages of the elves themselves can expand infinitely, directly opening the gap with other elves, thus causing qualitative changes. Speed, only fast is not broken. Attack, invincible. Defense, King Kong is not bad. Baizi is looking forward to the day when his elf will reach a level that can be described as such under his cultivation. Then, go try the edge of God. 5 days later. Early morning. Joban Forest, Edge, Route 2. There is a banquet in the world, Xia Huong, Uncle Shoes, you can send it here. Baizi stood beside the wind speed dog, nodded slightly, and said, That's good. Uncle Shoes, who had a ruddy complexion and was obviously fine, nodded when he heard the words, patted his chest and said, Little brother, I won't talk to you anymore, brother, I still have some connections in Guangdu. Where it's useful, just say it. Baizi responded with a smile. Immediately, he turned his gaze to Xia Huong on the other side. The girl lowered her head, unable to see her expression. However, it could be seen from her hands that were clutching the hem of her top, which were already turning white, that her heart was not at peace at the moment. Why, I'm leaving without even saying goodbye. Baizi approached the girl. Do not shy away. As he said with a smile, he stretched out his hand to hold up the other's wrinkled face, rubbed the other person's face fiercely, and said, all right, what are you doing with such a frowning face? It's not parting from life or death. Talking. Baizi flicked the girl's forehead somewhat amusingly. Although it makes him very happy to be so attached. But, as he said himself, there is no such thing as a banquet in the world. After stopping for so long, he should continue to set off. As for taking Xia Huong to travel with you, it's not that Baizi didn't think about it. After all, Xia Huong, who has the power of Vibrant, can read the hearts of elves and heal them, is simply the best logistics support candidate. However, Baizi also knew that his next journey would not be like an ordinary trainer, just running the official track, going back and forth between cities, playing gymnasiums, and participating in competitions. What he yearns for is a real adventure. The places I want to go are the depths of dense forests, cliffs and mountains, rivers and valleys. And during the journey, there are many people who are treacherous and fighting to the death. Therefore, although the benefits of bringing Xia Huong are obvious, there are bound to be many inconveniences and even danger. Xia Huong is naturally reluctant. The days together were short, but Baizi had already occupied a very important position in her heart. But she also knows that she is still far from being able to move forward side by side with the other party. She is not good enough, and she is not strong enough. Think of this. Xia Huong immediately forcibly suppressed the reluctance in his heart, raised his head, and some misty eyes reflected Baizi's figure. Big brother, the journey is smooth. Also, I will definitely practice hard, and then chase after him. On yours. So, we can move forward together, right? The girl took this sentence in her heart, her eyes firm. Baizi was stunned for a moment, then chuckled lightly, stretched out his little finger and thumb, and handed it to the girl. Then we agreed, I won't stop, and you don't miss the appointment. Xia Huong heard the seriousness in Baizi's tone, and suddenly smiled brightly, nodded vigorously, raised his little finger, and pressed his thumb forward. It's an appointment. Chapter 32. Under the secluded pool, the cave of the mechanism, second more. After saying goodbye to Uncle Shoes and Xia Huong, Baizi rode on the wind speed dog and drove all the way to the Gopher Cave southeast of Nibby City. And the reason to go here? Of course, it was because Baizi used the virtual road signs that the previous system rewarded. The direction that only he can see, the green crawler-like virtual path extends, is located in the southeast corner of Nibby City, at the north end of number 2 road, and further east, near the location of the Gopher Cave. Okay, whine speed dog, stop here. Coming to a stream in the dense forest at the back of the Gopher Cave, Baizi patted the wind speed dog on the back, turned over and jumped off. Take 2 steps forward. Head down. In the line of sight, the crawler-shaped green virtual path, after extending to the river bank, turned and spread below the river surface. Tisk, it looks like I have to go down the water. You come back first, whined speed dog. Baizi sighed and shook his head. After taking the wind speed dog back into the Pokeball, he quickly put on a set of pure black one-piece wetsuit, tied the pixie belt, and sealed the waterproof advanced space backpack for inspection. This is just a little bit on the waist. A luxurious ball that was tightly tied around the waist suddenly swelled, but it did not break away from the belt. Immediately after, the familiar red light emerged. Ooh tilde. With a soft moan, Laplace's slender figure appeared on the smooth lake surface, his flat fins slid, and soon he swam to Baizi's side, his forehead stretched forward, beside Baizi's neck. Rub rub. His eyes were wet, and he was very affectionate. Ha ha, be good tilde. Baizi also hugged Laplace's slender neck and stroked it twice. Since getting out of the haze, Laplace also seems to have gradually recovered his nature, and he will approach Baizi whenever he has a chance on weekdays, which makes him seem very clingy. Speak up. In Baizi's team. As an old man, Big Stinger is indifferent and detached, but he is also always the calmest one in the team. The wind speed dog is also calm and atmospheric, and is used to guarding silently by the side. Only Laplace and Naughty and Sticky are the only ones. Only Zoroha will show all her closeness. Laplace, I'm going into the water in a while, you remember to follow me closely, pay attention to the surrounding environment and wild elves, and be ready to support me at any time. Baizi pushed Laplace's head away a little, and while stroking the horn on top of Laplace's head, he warned seriously. Actually, a stream of the level in front of you should not be too deep in theory, and most of the elves living in it are the carp kings, horned goldfish, and the like, wild elves that are not aggressive. But it's okay to be careful in everything, and Baizi has always been a person who likes to be well prepared, so naturally he will not put himself in danger casually. To know. Even if it is a horned goldfish, if it really wants to go crazy, a hit from the horn is enough to open the stomach. Ooh tilde. Laplace nodded heavily. After Baizi put on his underwater breathing mask and a savage man plunged into the stream, he quickly sank his body and followed closely. The ecological environment of the fairy world is very good, and the streams are very pure. Therefore, after Baizi was like water, his line of sight was not disturbed too much, and he could clearly see the surrounding environment and the green path that spread on the surface of the riverbed, exuding gleaming light. Follow this path all the way forward. From time to time, there will be some aquatic elves like carp king, horned goldfish, mosquito-repellent tadpoles that can be seen everywhere swimming by. They basically turned a blind eye to Baizi and Laplace who followed him. Neither approach nor deliberately avoid. Take it easy. Obviously, the living environment in this water area is very comfortable, and there are even no natural enemies, which makes the vigilance of these aquatic elves so low. About a few hundred meters ahead, the marked path folded, and Baizi also turned. In front of me, I suddenly became enlightened. Unlike before, there seemed to be a deep pool connected to the bottom of this fork, but the bottom of the pool was covered with blue fluorescent stones, so it didn't seem too dark. Following the path, Baizi continued down. Moment. He came to the bottom of the pool. Glancing a little, it is indeed a fluorescent stone, and the quality is not bad. The fluorescent jewelry made of this thing is very popular with children and women, but because of the rich minerals, it is not too valuable. Did not look again. Baizi lays his body flat and faces down, his eyes squinting at the irregular stone the size of a grinding disc in front of him. Path does not extend further here. However, in Baizi's view, this should not be the end, and the path does not seem to end, but rather like it has fallen into this rock. Thinking of this, Baizi immediately stretched out his hand and pressed it on the stone, pushing it tentatively. Click, a dull sound accompanied by the bubbles. Immediately afterwards, the pressed down irregular stone the size of a grinding disc suddenly turned counterclockwise. In Baizi's shocking and inexplicable eyes, the whole bottom is covered with fluorescent stone. Rotating, cracking open a huge circular portal. P.S. Let me tell you, starting from today, as long as the chapters with pictures are not needed, I will put all kinds of beautiful pictures of my wife Sinead. I hope you can look at my wife's sake and give more support so, please support. Ask for collection. Ask for flowers. Ask for comments. Ask for a recommendation. Many thanks. Chapter 33. Ruins, Opportunities for the Great Needlebee. Third more. Clap Lala. In the center of a bluestone-paved platform surrounded by water, Laplace and Baizi with a hand on its back suddenly leaned out of the spring. Woo! After brushing the hair that was attached to his forehead, he wiped his face, and after losing a long breath, Baizi swiftly turned his hands and feet out of the gushing spring. The first time it landed on the bluestone slab, Baizi released the big needlebee and the wind speed dog. In the wild, especially when you're in an unknown place like now, and you're alone, it's best not to put the sprite in the Pokeball. Otherwise, once you encounter an emergency crisis or an emergency, you may not have time to release the elf at all. The big stinger made a vigilant action the moment it came out. The wind speed dog approached Baizi. Warm air blows. In an instant, the water traces on Baizi's body were evaporated, but Baizi did not feel the slightest burning sensation. Awesome. Thank you, wind speed dog. Baizi smiled and patted the furry body of the wind speed dog, and thanked him. Immediately, he turned his eyes to look around. This is a huge underwater cave space in the shape of a rectangular cuboid. The surrounding walls are full of mysterious and indistinguishable carvings, and at the top of both sides, a total of 10 Mega Needles statues of bees hang around. Look. It seems to be a relic that has something to do with the Mega Hornet. Beer tilde. Just as Baizi was looking around, the slightly impatient voice of the big hornet suddenly came over, and Baizi even heard an uncontrollable sense of agitation. What's the matter, the giant stinger, did you find something? Baizi opened his mouth and asked, and at the same time, he looked in the direction of the giant needlebee, and the direction that the giant needlebee was facing at this time happened to be the place where the path extended and disappeared. However, at this time, the giant stinger didn't seem to hear Bai Zi's voice. Quietly suspended in midair, with his back to Bai Zi, as if his attention had been completely attracted by something at the end of his line of sight. Huh. Bai Zi raised his brows, stepped forward in 3 or 2 steps, and followed the eager and infatuated gaze of Big Needlebee. It was a small altar composed of countless blue crystals and unknown ores that alternated between blue and yellow. About 2 meters square. On the altar, a round bead about the size of an adult's fist was enshrined and suspended in the void about 3 feet above the circular recess in the center of the altar. Its outer material is similar to a translucent crystal, and the inner purple and green streamer flows slowly like 2 clouds that are constantly chasing each other. Under the shimmering light from the altar, it gives a soul-stirring and strange beauty. This thing is... Bai Zi got a little closer, but after looking at it for a while, he couldn't figure out what it was. But, since it is the place of opportunity that is reached according to the virtual road sign, is this bead of unknown use the so-called opportunity? Bai Zi was thinking. But this time, the giant needlebee seemed to be affected by some kind of influence, and even flew up to the altar with a sprint, stretched out its metal-colored needle arm, and placed it on the bead. Bai Zi was immediately taken aback by the sudden action of the hornbee, but before he could react, a bright white light-like evolution suddenly rose from the body of the hornbee. All of a sudden, the dazzling white light made Bai Zi couldn't help squinting his eyes. And in the next second, beer sizzle, quote. With a high-pitched insect chirping, Bai Zi reluctantly opened his stimulated eyes that were filled with tears, and looked at the giant needlebee, which was no longer dazzling at this time, but was enveloped in yin-yang white light and began to deform. In the plastic-like stretching and reshaping, the white light gradually dissipated, revealing the new form of the giant stinger at the moment. The head, body and tail of the body are no longer directly connected, but are continued by the black part. The overall shape has become more slender and angular, with the erect antennae extending backward and the narrow and long eyes like a hook, making the large needlebee more stern. Of course, the most important thing is that the feet of the giant needlebee have also changed into sharp double needles with black and yellow stripes, and their own double needles are more like a pair of lances. Add the poison needle that is also lengthened at the end of the tail, with a cool metallic finish. Today's giant stingray. It's like an emotionless terror-killing machine, full of deterrence. Beer tilde. At this time, the giant needlebee, whose image had changed greatly, finally moved again. I saw it slammed a huge needle like a lance, and a vague energy armor covered it. In the violent breaking wind, a subtle sound was heard. The white marks exploded in the void. Chapter 34. The super-powerful stinger bee that is powerful enough to explode. Fourth more. This is. The movement made by the giant needlebee finally woke up, and Bai Zi was still a little stunned. Looking at the new form of the giant needlebee at this time, he couldn't help raising his eyebrows and said, Mega Evolution. Super Giant Needlebee. Saying that, Bai Zi, who was curious about the changes of the giant needlebee, was slightly concentrating, and the unseen brilliance suddenly flashed in his eyes. And the next second, the brand new data panel of the giant needlebee appeared in his eyes. Race: Giant needlebee, original form of metal flash. Permanent Mega. Attribute: Insect poison. Characteristics: Adaptability, mind and eyes. Exclusive characteristics: Similar to the sixth sense, can predict the opponent's actions, the ability to avoid danger to break the situation. Level: Gym Intermediate, Level 40, 18/100ths. Potential: Quasi-God transforming. HP: 65, Attack: 165, 150 Defense, 40, Special Attack, 15, Special Defense, 80, Speed, 171, 145. Exclusive skills: Gauntlets can greatly enhance the defense and attack of double needles. Extinction needles, dedicated all-out killing blow, can cause 2/3 5 times the damage, and has a certain chance to cause a blow, must-kill effect. Skills: Double needle, peck, anger, attack, chase, gathering, poison, poison, high speed, missile needle, venom impact, malicious pursuit, sword dance. Genetic skill, rapid return. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction. The brilliant stinger bee with excellent qualifications and full potential has a keen perception far superior to its peers. After absorbing the huge insect factors and law fragments in the exotic treasure, Insect King Orb, it has a unique group. The potential, unique and exclusive characteristics and skills, as well as the deterrent enough to command the swarm, are still in the stage of transformation. Lying, slot. After reading the brand new attribute panel of Big Needlebee, he was stunned for a long time, and then Baizi spit out these two words with a look of shock and inexplicable expression. No wonder Baizi is like this. Because want to come. After seeing such a perverted attribute panel, any trainer will probably react like this. Think about it. The ultimate racial value achieved by permanent mega transformation. The perverted sixth sense endowed by exclusive characteristics is comparable to predicting the future. The super potential that has reached the potential of quasi-god but is still in the process of transformation and evolution, and, both in terms of functionality and lethality, impeccable exclusive skills. Be nice. Where is this giant stinger? It is simply a new insect god spirit. As for the super ancient insect-type elf Genesect, who is known as the steel insect god, Baizi said that today's giant stinger can hit 10 at the same level. Compared with these, the triple jump on the level is nothing. Not only that. From the introduction in the last column of the attribute panel, Baizi finally understood the name and function of the beads that had been fused by the giant needlebee. The Insect King Orb contains a huge number of insect elements and law fragments, and its performance function is to at least allow the giant stinger to complete the transformation of potential, skills, characteristics, etc. It is indeed a rare treasure. Want to come. This should be the opportunity of the so-called road sign that was brushed out from Xia Huong. As for whether this so-called opportunity is a treasure bred by nature or a prop made the day after tomorrow, Baizi doesn't know. And he didn't want to go deep into this idea either. For him, as long as you make sure that this thing is beneficial and not harmful, there is no need to think about other things. Beer tilde. At this time, after adapting to its new posture, the giant needlebee felt the reborn power in the body, and could not help but flutter its wings, sending out bursts of high-pitched insect calls. It seems that he is celebrating his transformation. Then, it turned its gaze to Baizi again, and in the insect eyes, a look of excitement and anticipation was fleeting. Baizi suddenly understood. He strolled forward, put his palm on the needle arm of the large needlebee in the shape of a lance arm guard, and gave confirmation with a chuckle. You have become stronger again, Big Needlebee. Beer tilde. The Big Needlebee immediately responded with a soft cry, and carefully placed the other needle arm on the back of Baizi's hand. As for Baizi, although he could not determine the look of the giant hornbee, he could easily hear the joy and satisfaction in the voice of the giant hornbee. Although he was very cold all day long, this guy, in fact, he was very concerned about Baizi's approval. The wind speed dog quietly looked at the scene in front of him, and the corner of his mouth raised an arc slightly. Laplace's eyes were also folded, and his eyes were full of foam when he looked at Baizi. Although the time is short. But for it. However, Baizi is not only his own trainer, but also his savior, his family, and the existence he has made up his mind to swear by life and death. Chapter 35. Deal. Fifth more. After harvesting the Insect King Orb, to complete the transformation that can be described as a rebirth, Baizi searched the underwater ruins again, but as a result, there was no more harvest. But it doesn't matter. Just like the Insect King Orb, the trip to the underwater ruins is already quite rewarding. Of course he had nothing to be dissatisfied with. Therefore, after confirming that there were no other gains, Baizi quickly withdrew the wind speed dog and the large needlebee, followed the spring in the center of the ruins, and crossed the underwater tunnel under the escort of Laplace, and soon returned to the original road. Bottom of the pool. Then, He touched 21, the mechanism that closed the entrance of the underwater grotto, and then he kicked his legs, like a galloping bucket-tipped shuttle, shot straight away in the direction of the water surface. In the evening, after nearly 7 days, Baizi finally arrived at the first city after his trip from Junshin Town, Nibby City. As the largest mining city in the Kanto region, Nibby City is not the tip of the iceberg as it appears in anime. Backed by Mount Yujian, it is rich in all kinds of rare ores, fossils, and evolutionary stones headed by moonstones. Therefore, it has also spawned the vigorous development of all walks of life centered on ore trading. It can be said that Nibby City is one of the largest cities in the Kanto region. And big cities like this, all kinds of facilities and shops are naturally quite complete and complete. E.g. the largest and most well-known trading organization in the Gwandu area, involving item auctions, item transactions, and the sale of elf cubs and elf eggs, the Elf House. At this time, the first time after Baizi entered Nibby City, he found the location of the Elf House store according to the navigation. Then keep walking. Head toward Northwest Commercial Street where it is located. All kinds of top nutritional products and ingredients, high-quality energy cubes, full sets, top-quality field travel equipment, and all kinds of items used as preparatory plans. To be honest, such high-level consumption has already made Baizi's pockets almost the same. The bottom is almost there. Now there is less than 30,000 alliance coins left on the elf savings card in his pocket. Perhaps, for an ordinary trainer, 30,000 alliance coins is enough to support himself and a whole team of elves for several months. But for Baizi, this is far from enough. There is an old saying in the past life, 3 points depends on training and 7 points on food. If you want to steadily improve the strength of the elves, training is essential, and the food should not be bad either. And even if it is the best energy cubes regardless of various nutrients and high prices. One of the food that is eaten daily. It is also the price of the top-level 5A grade synthetic beef that Zoroa can't miss, and it requires nearly 1,000 alliance coins per pound. Alliance coins less than 30,000. That's enough to give Zoroa a spirit for about 10 days. Therefore, now that the card is less than 30,000 union coins, Baizi is actually facing a deficit crisis. Standing in front of the store of the House of the Spirits, Baizi's first feeling was that it was big. The glass door that is sensing is nearly 20 meters wide, and there is a Pokeball logo on the door, which means that this is an organization directly under the Alliance. From the outside, the above-ground area of the Elf House has a total of 3 floors. As for whether there is a compartment or a basement, it is not something that Baizi can know. After all, this is also his first time here. Go past the sensor door that opens automatically. Go straight to the first floor of the Elf House. Immediately, a sweet girl in a light blue OL uniform greeted Baizi. "Welcome, sir, can I do anything for you?" With a modest demeanor and soft words, he is worthy of being the receptionist of the House of Elves. "You should have the business of recycling gold beads, star sand, and evolution stones here, right?" Baizi went straight to the subject, picked up the storage bag he had prepared a long time ago, and shook it. "Of course." The girl nodded without hesitation, and introduced with a proficient chuckle, "The Elf House undertakes all the replacement and sales of props. Are you going to sell it on the Elf Online consignment or sell it directly in the store? If it is a consignment sale, we will only charge 0.5% of the handling fee. If it is sold directly to the store, we will also give you the most fair price." Baizi nodded when he heard the words. The reason why he chose the House of Spirits to sell the things in his hand is the fairness of the prices of the institutions directly under the Alliance. An open and transparent normative price can save Baizi from bargaining and a lot of trouble. Step into the inner room. After careful identification, weighing and comparison, the old Mediterranean man with reading glasses put down the tools in his hand and suggested, "Well, little brother, if you are willing to pack and sell all the items including rock gems to our elf house, then, old man, I'm willing to buy at a premium, a buy-in price, 5 million. How about it? Baizi was stunned when he heard the words. Before coming, he naturally made a simple appraisal. The most valuable thing is that the market price of the attribute item, rock gem, is 2.8 million, and if it is auctioned, it will not exceed 3.5 million alliance coins at most. In addition to the high-grade leaf stone worth about 70,000 to 800,000, and the other several inferior evolution stones, such as Jinju and Xingsha, the total value should be around 4.8 million. 5 million can indeed be regarded as a premium acquisition. Thinking of this, Baizi didn't hesitate at all, and directly slapped the Union Savings card with the red and white ball pattern on the table. Deal. The young man's smile at this time is definitely from the heart. Chapter 36. Wind Speed Dog, Don't Worry. First. Carrying a large sum of money, Baizi, who walked out of the House of the Elves again, felt that the air on the streets of Nibby City had become extraordinarily fresh. And he, who has never treated himself badly, came out of the House of Elves. He stopped a taxi directly on the side of the road. Detour. We went to the most upscale 5-star hotel in the center of Nibby City, Yujanshan Hotel, and checked in. And the package is the only set of manor-style large flats in the hotel. Just one night's occupancy fee is as high as 58,888 alliance coins. This amount is enough for an ordinary trainer to eat and drink for several months for one person and 6 pets. Don't think it's expensive either. Regardless of the room area of nearly 300 square meters, the garden balcony of about 150 square meters, hot springs and swimming pools, the soothing incense made from white herbs and other precious medicinal materials in the incense burner placed in the master bedroom is worth it. Not cheap. Not to mention, the delicacies made from all kinds of precious and cherished ingredients are provided completely free of charge during the stay. Bluefin tuna sashimi, deep-sea caviar, polar ice shrimp stew. Even the tail of the dumb beast, the cannon arm of the steel cannon arm shrimp, the Kintaro steak, the savage sea bass tempura, the sweet bamboo freshly squeezed juice. There are ordinary animals in the fairy world. Only. Except for some fish and shrimp marine creatures with amazing reproductive capacity, it is basically difficult to find traces of ordinary wild animals on land. It is normal. Compared with elves, it is really difficult for ordinary animals to survive in this world. The tiger who was known as the King of Beasts, in his previous life was afraid that even the little Radha could not beat him. Under the survival of the fittest. Nature is almost extinct. And in the same way, the fact that humans hunted elves has existed since ancient times. However, since the establishment of the Alliance and the emergence of various synthetic protein meats on the market, eating elves has been regarded as a bad habit by many regions and most trainers. Even if these elf ingredients are packaged and advertised as being obtained by methods such as natural drop, painless extraction, artificial cloning and breeding, etc., they are still subjected to strong support from the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto headed by Longshadu, as well as the Joey and Junsha families. Protest, denounce and boycott. Therefore, the top leaders of the alliance had to come forward to appease and introduced a series of legal provisions prohibiting the indiscriminate killing of elves by private individuals. But it is interesting to note that at the same time, the alliance has not clearly stipulated the regulations prohibiting the consumption of elves. It can be said that playing a very beautiful avoidance is light. Tisk. In the luxurious VIP dining area, listening to the admiration of the nearby guests talking and laughing, Baizi's mood suddenly became less beautiful. However, although he did not like such a scene, he also knew that he was not qualified to say something. Therefore, I can only choose to be out of sight and out of mind, and quickly select a pile of high-grade synthetic meat, as well as precious ingredients such as caviar, truffles, and ice shrimp. Get ready to cook by yourself on the garden balcony on the ground floor of the manor, and enjoy a unique picnic with your own elves. However, I don't know where the country bumpkins came from. After picking and practicing so many, they just left the rarest ingredients. Laughing to death. A harsh female voice that was not deliberately lowered sounded not far from her side. Bai Zi's footsteps stopped. Slightly sideways. Then he saw a rather gorgeously dressed blonde curly-haired lady looking at her with an expression of obvious contempt. Seeing Bai Zi looking over, he raised his chin as if provocative, and the curvature of the corner of his mouth was also sarcastic. No guessing. This woman is obviously intentional. Ha, interesting. Bai Zi suddenly laughed lightly, but that smile made people shudder. Tilde. At the same time, a pokeball around his waist suddenly trembled, and it seemed that the ball would break out in the next second. However, he was held down by Bai Zi and comforted in a low voice. Fengsu dog, don't worry. Yu Luo didn't step forward, just glanced at the woman and the middle-aged man sitting opposite the woman in a gentleman's uniform that couldn't hide his sturdy physique. Then, Bai Zi simply turned around, picked up the stacked high tray, and left the dining area. And behind him, a low male voice faintly heard. Sophia, how many times have I told you, don't always offend people with your tongue. Xia Tilde. On the top floor, on the grass of the open-air garden balcony that extends outside the flat, Bai Zi put the simply marinated steak into the stone pot, and the sizzling oil smoke rises, mixed with the meaty aroma of the special sauce. Plus the fragrant baked salt shrimp, mellow truffle soup, etc. A sumptuous meal. Immediately, the wind speed dog, Zoroya, the giant stinger, and even Laplace who were surrounded by Bai Zi couldn't help swallowing. Good. Laplace, who newly joined the Bai Zi family, is also a carnivore. And just after Bai Zi finished the last 100 fruit plate. You have made a total of 16 delicacies, with a little income, cooking experience plus 50. Ding, your cooking skills have been promoted, current level, intermediate. Oh. Bai Zhejian raised his eyebrows, feeling the information about cooking that appeared in his mind, as well as the slightly increased 5 senses and palm flexibility. A ray of joy flashed in his eyes. Chapter 37, Challenge Nibby Gym, 2nd. Every skill improvement certified by the system will bring a certain degree of extra bonus to Bai Zi as the host. Although it is not an intuitive attribute bonus. But for soft power, which is not intuitive, but actually very important, such as physical coordination, sensory acuity, joint flexibility, etc., it has been strengthened to a considerable extent. At this time, after arranging the prepared juices according to the respective tastes of Big Needlebee, Wind Speed Dog, Zoroya, and Laplace, Bai Zi put his hands together and chuckled. Okay, let's start. Sizzle tilde. 8, 5.6, 1, 0, 9.7. 8, 2, Ling, Long. Wu tilde. As soon as Bai Zi's words fell, the three sisters, Wind Speed Dog, Zoroya, and Laplace, began to swirl the clouds like a starving ghost reincarnated. On the contrary, the only male elf Hornby in the team behaved unhurriedly. After taking a sip of the slightly astringent juice made with yellow cones. With a single stroke of the needle arm, the tender meat of the shrimp tail was picked out like a diced beef, and then evenly dipped in the sauce. The shrimp meat was handed to his mouth, and he tasted it slowly and carefully. This posture, on the other hand, resembled Bai Zi's usual appearance when he dined. Bai Zi couldn't help shaking his head and chuckling. Reach out. Cut the beef into small pieces, then scoop up half a spoonful of caviar and a piece of matsutake mushrooms to cover them in turn, and then put them into the mouth. Suddenly, the mellow and sweetness is wrapped in the pure beef sauce and mixed into the absolute taste burst from the mouth. After finishing this hearty and delightful dinner, and playing with the elves on the balcony of the garden for a while, Bai Zi returned to the room. Just take a shower. Change into pajamas. He took out the latest, Comet 12 Feet notebook released by Shaloof Company from the space backpack. He got up and went into the bedroom, lit incense, and leaned cross-legged on the Wind Speed Dog lying on the goose-down carpet. Then power on, connect to the internet, and open the browser. Both hands tapped and inquired. As a senior code farmer in his previous life, he knew by analogy. Although his hacking skills were not superb, he was still able to take a shot. Especially in this elf world where technological development is crooked to a certain extent. It can be said. Except for some special elves that can manipulate electrons and even enter the online world, ordinary firewalls can't really stop him. And it is. But for a moment. Baizi was almost like no one, and easily found what he wanted from the information database of Nibby City, Sophia, a third-rate opera singer at Nibby Opera House. And her fiancé. Iwamura Ichiro, the owner of the Rock Boxing Gym, a veteran fighting class quasi-king class trainer. Under the bluish light, Baizi said softly and slowly revealed the contents of the query on the screen. And in his eyes, a ray of cold color suddenly flashed across. These two. It was the unspoken woman that Baizi met in the VIP dining area downstairs not long ago, and her male companion. In the early morning of the next day, after enjoying the breakfast from the hotel with the elves, Baizi set off directly to the Nibby Gym in the western suburbs of the city. He is going to challenge the Nibby Gym first and get the first badge. As for the two of them at Rock Fist Gym, this is not in a hurry. Anyway, if the monks can run away, they can't run away from the temple. Baizi has time to concoct them slowly. Perhaps because it is good at elves of the rock attribute, the appearance of the Nibby Gym, from the outside, looks like a huge square rock that has been hewn into a house. Push open the door and walk through the entrance hallway that resembles a rock tunnel. After officially entering the hall of Nibby Gym, at a glance, Baizi saw the squinting boy who was on the opposite side of the field, holding a steel brush and cleaning the body of a huge big rock snake. He has a healthy complexion, dark brown hair, and squinting eyes that are no different from Xiaoging in the original protagonist. This young man is Xiaoging's younger brother, Jiro. It should also be the gym trainer of Nibby Gymnasium who is temporarily acting as Xiaoging now. Speak up. As Xiaoging's younger brother, Jiro's talent as a trainer is actually quite good. Even if it can't be compared to the red, green, blue, yellow, etc. In the special chapter, he is definitely better than Xiaoging. In the original animation, when Xiaoging returned with Xiaoji's travel, Jiro's strength had already exploded Xiaoging. Not only did he cultivate a super iron Tyrannosaurus, but he also cultivated the big rock snake that Xiaoging left behind. The big steel snake can be said to be out of blue. Jiro was concentrating on cleaning up the joints of the big rock snake, but he didn't notice Baizi for the first time. And Baizi didn't interrupt. He just leaned against the stone wall beside the entrance quietly, and aimed at this big rock snake. Chapter 38. The Power of Evolution to Break Through the Shackles. Third more. Race, Big Rock Snake. Attribute, Rock Ground. Characteristic, Hard Head. Level, Quasi-Tianwang Intermediate, Level 56, 2100s. Potential, King of Heaven. HP, 35, Attack, 34, Defense, 160, Special Attack, 30, Special Defense, 45, Speed, 70. Skills, Rockfall, Impact, Harden, Titan, Knockdown, Rock Grinding, Dragon Breath, Curse, Rock Crash, Shrill Sound, Quicksand Hell, Invisible Rock, Beat, Sandstorm, Burrow, Iron Tail, Sharp Stone Attack. Genetic Skill, Wide Area Defense. Open Black Lens Bracket Status, Perfect Close Black Lens Bracket. Introduction. Big Rock Snake with excellent qualifications, the absolute main force of Xiaoging, has been cultivated quite well, but lacks the experience of evenly matched death battles, and is a qualified gym elf. It is a very good big rock snake that has been bred. Speak up. Baizi also considered taking a large rock snake as a tanker in the team. Because Baizi is very clear, the big rock snake, which is still widely considered to be unable to evolve in the Kanto region, can evolve into a super shield with a defense of up to 210 types of attribute resistance as long as it carries a metal membrane for connection and exchange. Snake. In addition, Baizi, who is familiar with the original book and has the advantage of foresight, also knows 3 different high-quality large rock snakes and their locations. They are the Miacha Mountains located in the back mountain of Junqin Town in the Kanto region, which is far larger than the giant rock snake of its kind. Located in the southwest of the Orange Islands, the Crystal Rock Snake in the Crystal Cave in the Orange Island, and the last one, located in Hihi, the leader of the Big Rock Snake near Ripples Town in various regions. But that was before. Now he has the elf egg of the shiny iron dumbbell. This is equivalent to having a steel-type quasi-god with excellent dual defense and strong physical attack in the future, which is quite excellent in both attack surface and resistance, or a third-level god with qualifications who can briefly fight against the legendary Flash Giant Gold. Weird. Sitting on such a perfect tanker who can be called the king of land warfare, what else do you need from a big travel, steel, vehicle, snake? In fact, what really makes Baizi curious is such a large rock snake of the quasi-king middle rank. In the original anime, how the hell was Ash's Pikachu defeated? Hello, are you here to challenge the gym? I'm sorry, I was taking care of the big rock snake just now. I was negligent, sorry. While thinking about it, a slightly calm and apologetic voice came. Baizi followed the voice and looked. Enter the eye. It was Jiro, who had already completed the work on the great rock snake. It doesn't matter, as a trainer, it is a matter of course to take good care of the elves in your hands. Baizi lightly smiled and shook his head. Immediately, he fixed his gaze on the young man opposite him again, and said, I'm Baizi from Junqin Town, and I came here to challenge the gym. Now, can we start? Of course, no problem. Jiro nodded without hesitation, his expression mixed with excitement and a trace of nervousness. In fact, Baizi was the first challenge that his acting brother Xiaoging faced as a gym trainer. My name is Jiro, and I will temporarily take over the position of the head of the Nibby Gym. The gym challenge at Nibby Gym uses a rock field, and the battle rules are 2v2, and only the challenger has the right to change the spirit. Taking a deep breath, Jiro seriously introduced himself and said the rules of the battle, while reaching out and slapped the lattice-shaped wall behind him. Kacha, in an instant, accompanied by a sound of machine, the rock field divided into 2 pieces moved out from under the left and right walls, splicing and merging into a whole rock field, separating Shirazawa and Jiro. At the same time, a small hidden grid also stretched out beside Jiro. On it, there are 3 Pokeballs on display. Jiro picked up one of them and retrieved the big rock snake, hesitating for a while, but still took out a well-maintained red and white ball from his waist and threw it towards the center of the field. In the first battle, rely on there you are, Iron Tyrannosaurus. Roar tilde. In the excited roar, an armored dragon beast with the shape of a dinosaur, with a gray body and a sharp drill cone on its forehead flashed from the red light. Race: Iron Armored Tyrannosaurus, Drill Horned Rhinoceros. Attribute: Ground, Rock. Characteristic: Sacrifice, Monty. Level: Elite Advanced, Level 30, 3100ths. Potential: Quasi-King. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. This iron-armored Tyrannosaurus was less qualified and did not reach the Heavenly King level. But that doesn't mean it will stop at the Quasi-King. It needs to be reiterated again. For elves, potential is not the same as the upper limit. However, when the potential of the elves cannot keep up with the strength, every breakthrough of the elves will become extremely difficult, and even will completely stop at the limit of potential. At this time, in addition to breaking through the bottleneck of potential with the help of natural-born treasures, some specific sprites, you can also use special evolutionary methods to break through this boundary. For example, before and after evolution, both strength and potential will usher in a reborn Carp King. Another example is the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus Rex, which needs to be re-evolved with the help of evolutionary props synthesized from specific natural substances and artificial power to stimulate the gene sequence in the body. Although this does not change the qualifications of the elves, but the power of evolution. But it is very likely that the elves can break through the shackles and advance to a higher domain level. Chapter 39, Frozen Warfare. Prelude. 4th More. An elite high-ranking iron-armored Tyrannosaurus. At this moment, looking at the data obtained from the probe, Baizi couldn't help frowning slightly. A talent reward system. Baizi's battle mentality has gradually become more practical. For him, it would be more beneficial for him and for the growth of the elves to fight against elves with similar strength or slightly stronger than his own. Otherwise, what's the point of a crushing battle? Thinking of this, Baizi couldn't help shaking his head and sighing. In the end, it was because he became stronger too fast, and with the help of God's reward, it was the speed of light. So much so that in the gym challenge that was premised on winning, he couldn't come up with an elf with similar or inferior strength. Well, it doesn't have to be too demanding. Again, an opponent of this level is a good opportunity to improve confidence as the first choice. While thinking about it, Baizi also reached out and took a luxurious ball from his waist and threw it forward. Go Laplace, this is your first fight, go and show your talent. Woo. With a soft moan, in the white light, Laplace's figure appeared on the side of the rock field. And, at the moment of his appearance, Laplace, who was uncomfortable with the dry rock field, did not need Baizi's reminder, and immediately responded. The slender neck was high, accompanied by a long cry, and the invisible fluctuations spread suddenly. Immediately, dark clouds appeared over the battlefield. The pattering raindrops quickly fell, quickly soaking the rocky site and accumulating water. In the blink of an eye, the site was changed from rock to wetland. This is a rain-seeking skill. Within this range, the power of water-type moves will increase, while the power of fire-type moves will decrease. At the same time, for the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus, which is 4 times weaker than water, it is also equivalent to being the first mover, and it has already fallen into a disadvantage. Need to know. In the elf battle, not every action and response requires instructions from the trainer. An excellent elf also needs to learn to deal with various emergencies independently and flexibly according to the actual situation without the order of the trainer. And to do that, in addition to the efforts and spirituality of the elves themselves, the words and deeds of the trainers in daily training are also indispensable. Although the time is still short, Baizi has not yet had time to design a complete battle routine system for Laplace. But, however, he already had a draft, and he and Laplace had a preliminary explanation and overview of this unfinished strategy. But what Ling Bai's never thought was that it would dare to use it directly in the first battle, just after a general description. Moreover, there is not even the slightest hesitation, the decisiveness is amazing. I originally thought that the suffering and forbearance of the past would cause you to be timid in battle. But I didn't expect that it was my fault. Laplace, bloom. This battle is where you shine like ice and snow. The first stage. The black eyes reflected Laplace's dragon-like figure. Baizi didn't give an order, but only murmured in his mouth. The prologue of begging for rain has been paved, and the next step is, prelude, is. Oh woo. In the field, almost at the moment when the rain request was completed, Laplace raised his head again and shouted, and a light blue energy ball suddenly appeared from above the single horn above Laplace's head. In the next second, several ice blue light beams shot out from it. This is cold and dry. Tyrannosaurus, be careful. Jiro, who finally reacted, changed his face and hurriedly reminded him. But just as the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus raised its arms and focused on its precautions, it was discovered that the direction of the impact of these beams was not towards itself. And it was extremely accurate, and it hit the large and small puddles on the field. Kachaka, the icy blue rays with an amazing chill instantly freeze these puddles and gradually spread out, connecting with each other. In a short while, the entire field suddenly turned into an ice field, completely covered by a mirror-smooth ice layer. At the same time, the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus's feet were also caught by the rapidly condensing ice layer and froze in place. Iron-armored Tyrannosaurus, use the arm hammer to break free. Jiro's order followed. But have to say, this instruction of his lacks spirituality. At most, it can only be regarded as quite satisfactory. Because just when the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus smashed the ice with its arms and freed its feet. In Jiro's shocked eyes. When Laplace swiped his fins, he drew an arc-shaped curve on the ice like an arrow from a string and went around the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus Rex's side. The water in the mouth condensed, and a wave of water slammed into the exposed waist and abdomen of the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus. Chapter 40. Make a point, be convinced. Fifth more. Your Laplace defeated Jiro's iron-armored Tyrannosaurus on his own, and gained a little, experience value +5, rain proficiency +1, cold and dry proficiency +1, water fluctuation proficiency +1. The sound of the system prompt sounded, which also symbolized the victory of this battle. Woo tilde. Laplace ignored the knocked-down Tyrannosaurus Rex, and when the fins slipped, he returned to Baizi's side, his long neck stretched out, and he happily rubbed towards Baizi. On the opposite side, Jiro's face was pale at this time, and the whole person fell into a state of self-doubt. He lost. Completely lost. He can't even beat the uncommanded Laplace. And still being crushed in seconds. At this moment, he even doubted whether he really had the qualifications to become a trainer. Can he really replace his brother Xiaogang and take on the important responsibility of a gym trainer? At this moment, Baizi's clear voice suddenly came. Why, do you think losing to my Laplace is something you can't accept? Ah. Jiro gave a violent shudder, and said hesitantly, no, I just. Just what? Feel like a piece of shit. Puff. The strength is terrible, can't even beat the uncommanded elves. Puff. And it's still being killed in a second. It's such a waste, or it's better to die. What kind of trainer do you still need? Puff. Jiro, who was not light on the knife, was covered by Baizi's words, to dig his heart out, and his face turned pale for a while, but the miraculous thing was that the slump in his heart seemed to have eased a lot. At this moment, Baizi raised his head, who was stroking Laplace's neck. Beneath the silver hair, the dazzling obsidian-like eyes seemed to be able to read people's hearts. Aren't you decadent? Jiro subconsciously wanted to avoid this line of sight, and his eyes drifted unconsciously. However, his squinting eyes are exactly the same as Xiaogang, and it is difficult for people to distinguish clearly. Winning or losing is a common thing in the military. As a trainer, what you need to do is to learn from failures, find and fill your own shortcomings, rather than self-pity. Baizi raised a few words in a calm voice. Continuing, talking eloquently. For example, before, when the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus was restricted by ice, your judgment was not accurate enough. I think you've overlooked Laplace's ability to move on the ice. You know, Laplace is slow on the ground, but he is very good at swimming and skating, so the speed on the ice is actually amazing. If it were me, I would use the rock crit skill to attack the ground in front of me. On the one hand, skill-induced explosions can untie the ice. On the other hand, you can use the stones generated by the skills to create a defensive net to prevent Laplace's surprise. Baizi obviously intended to broadcast on demand, so he didn't hide it. Not only did he directly explain the previous battles, but also some of his own battle views and ideas. After a speech, it can be said that Jiro has benefited a lot. To be honest, Jiro's trainer talent is indeed good, but his father Wu Nang, who ran away from home after dreaming of becoming the world's strongest trainer, is really not the master in charge. The second time, although brother Xiaogang is doing his duty, he has to take care of his 9 younger siblings, including himself, while taking on the responsibility of a gym trainer. So Jiro is basically alone on the road of nurturing and training elves, crossing the river by feeling the stones. Therefore, for him, the battle ideas and opinions expounded by Baizi in a few words are tantamount to guiding lights. This is simply the grace of preaching. How not to make Jiro grateful and heartbroken? Jiro. Totally convinced. Thank you for your teaching, such a great kindness and virtue, Jiro will definitely keep it in mind. Having said that, Jiro made a big gift towards Baizi very solemnly. Baizi, on the other hand, waved his hand with a chuckle, and said, "It's okay." Being human in 2 lifetimes, Baizi clearly understands the importance of connections. Therefore, Baizi pays great attention to the daily interpersonal communication, and if he cannot complain, he will not complain. After all, there are many ways to have multiple friends. Of course, if there is really no other way but to be the enemy, then try to kill it all at once, and don't let the other party have any chance of revenge. For example, Hunter G. The Nibby gym of the Jiro family looks unremarkable, but in fact, it owns part of the mining rights around Nibby City and even the Mt. Tsukimi mine. Rich and oily not to mention. All kinds of precious minerals that have an extremely important role in promoting the growth of rock-type and steel-type elves are also quite amazing. It just so happened that the shiny iron dumbbells in Baizi's hands that had not yet been born had a considerable demand for it,